You can now watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Core TV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then News. Core TV News, a 24-hour news station.
Thanks for staying the course. You're still watching Core Digest exclusively on Core TV News. And today we're talking something quite interesting because we started this on Friday, and like I promised, it's going to be a series because it's something that is bothering a lot of Nigerians, especially the labor force, as we have from civil servants being owed 11 months. Can you beat that? You imagine how they've been living, how they've been fending for their family. And we also have reports that some even died in the course because they couldn't get enough money to take care of themselves. That's quite sad, you know. And that's why I want to continue the discussion. We're looking at the Nigerian worker, the Ordeals, and this is part 2, like I promised. Of course, it's going to continue in series, and today discussing the issue of the Nigerian worker, I'm joined with a public affairs analyst and a legal practitioner. I have here Achike Chudi, who is a public affairs analyst. Good morning.
Thank you very much.
And Liberus Oshoma, a legal practitioner.
Always my pleasure. Thank you.
Good morning. It's nice having you on the show today. Now, Achike Chudi, let's start with you.
Yeah.
What do you make of the condition of the Nigerian labor force?
I think they're in a difficult, they're going through a very difficult period. Terrible times. A situation where you have an organized level, you know, and something like this is happening. And what is happening is actually unprecedented. I can't remember any time that states across the country owed workers, you know, so much, arrears, and then the workers are still expected to come to work on a daily basis and so on. And so I think the state of the Nigerian worker is terrible. What their situation is, like I said, unprecedented. Of course, I think it's a reflection of the signs of the times. The reality is that our country has gone through so much ordeal, through so much difficulty. And so we have failures in virtually every sector of the Nigerian political economy. And I think it would be an anomaly that in the midst of so much decadence and decay, you have a sector that is rising and living above the weaknesses and the foibles of all the other sectors.
As it is, we have not less than 12 states are owing workers' salary. In 2014, it used to be
18 states.
Yeah, not less than 12. Yes,
Okay.
so it's higher than 12. And as of 2014, we had 22 states owing workers' salary. What can you ascribe to the large number of the states owing their workers' salary?
One word: absolute irresponsibility on the part of the political class, on the part of the states, the governors that are owing these workers. And then another word: irresponsibility also on the part of the Nigerian workers. You know, because the reality...
Irresponsibility?
Yes, it is irresponsible of them to be owed so much. I mean, as a group, it's not one person you're owing, it's not two people you're owing. You're owing an entire workforce salaries. The implication is that the people have been emasculated, that the people are impotent, the people lack the capacity to determine what is right for themselves. They lack the capacity to fight for what naturally should be a right.
So you are blaming the workers now?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's no way. Okay, who are they expecting to fight for their salaries? When people, even ordinary, even unions in companies, in private companies, private enterprises are owed so much. Oh, with time there's an explosion. With time they vent their anger on the management because they have done their duty. You see, there's a contractual obligation between a worker, you know, and an employer and an employee. All the worker is required, the employee is required, is to give a service in exchange for a reward. That reward is the salary. So he has done his own part, discharged his duties to his employer. The employer also has a duty You understand? To compensate him for the efforts that he has made in trying to build up the business of the employer. So it is a duty, it is a right, it's an obligation. And once this obligation has been violated, not once, not twice, not thrice, and so on, then I want to believe that the man who has discharged his duties to his government has a responsibility to himself to ensure that he insists on his rights and that he gets his rights.
Okay.
If he's not able to do that, then I think there's some level of irresponsibility on his part.
All right, Liberals, as a legal practitioner, what are the implications of not paying workers' salary, especially when the labor law says thou shalt pay the worker's salary? And I think the law says 22nd of a particular month. So what are the legal implications of this?
It's a contract. It's not a criminal offense. First and foremost, is a contractual agreement that you work for me from first to so and so day, and then you earn a salary, a remuneration called a salary, and that will be calculated so and so and so in so way. This will be the basic. This will be your allowance for transport. This will be your clothing allowance, and this will be your feeding allowance, and all of that. And if at the end of the day, after discharging my duties and responsibilities, like Achike just said, and I'm entitled, based on that contractual obligation, that you're not entitled to pay me, and you refuse to pay, I have a right to say, one, I can down two, that I'll stop working because you have breached the contract I have with you for no just cause. Or I have a right to demand that that money be paid because I have worked for it. I've discharged my part of the obligation, my part of the contractual agreement. And so it is now left for you to discharge yours. It is not something you say that is binding in honor, that I will pay if I feel like. It's an obligation. It's what you are entitled to. But a situation where you are not paid for the first month, for the second month, for the third month, and then you still sit down, you come to work happily, and then you still see this person, you're very happy to still do your work. You know, there's more to that than meet the eye. And that's why I was listening to somebody who said that one of these big media organizations, people were complaining that he does not pay his workers' salaries. And he took the person to the car park in the organization and said, look at the cars of my workers. Does these cars represent those that don't earn salary, the lifestyle of those that don't earn salaries? You know, and so because of that lifestyle, people will not want to complain. But it's still an irresponsible act to say because you see your workers drive expensive cars, and so with that you believe they are helping themselves out somewhere, and that duty that you owe them, you deny them that duty. And also because there are other factors that, you know, will not allow workers to complain in this crime. But basically, there are so many issues we need to really look at to get to the bottom of these salary issues. Because it's the system of government. Some people had said that this system of giving handout, it does not just end with giving handout. Also, you need to look at the distribution of wealth in some of these states. You find out that most of these states we are talking about, even governors from those states are governors appointed from other states, from Lagos, from people that are relocated from London to go play politics in this state. Even when governors are distributing largesse or awarding contract, you bring a contractor from China, you bring a contractor from Lagos. At the end of the day, these contractors are awarded contracts, and money is remitted to them. And this money is not domiciled in this state. And so the money is not revolving in this state. How do you now expect to generate internal revenue from some of these funds?
Achike Chudi blamed workers for keeping quiet for so long.
Yes.
When a contract is being breached, of course, when an employer is not paying the worker salary, at what point should a worker revolt? Is there a timeline to it?
No, there might not be necessarily a timeline. The issue is that the dynamics that will play out. Again, a lot depends on the history, for instance, of the employer. How has he treated his employees generally? How is he generally perceived by the employees as a fair person, as somebody who has always been there for them, you know, and you know, because it's possible that you could have that employers could go through some bad times. For instance, in a manufacturing concern, the man has been consistent with his salaries each and every time. Workers are not unreasonable people. When they say that the company is going through hard times, and they know, they should know, because ultimately the owner of the company, you know, are not the ones that run every department of the company. You have accountants who are workers, you know, ordinary workers. You have people, like I say, finance department in the stores and so on and so forth. So when they begin to look at the numbers, and the numbers are not too favorable, compared with the production that is going on and the sales and everything, and they realize that the company is going through lean times, they tend to, you know, appreciate the problem of the company.
So are we looking at 2 months, 3 months?
No,
old salaries?
it will depend. Workers have been known to wait for as long as 6 months, 3 months, 2 months. That's why I say there's no law. There's no, you know, specific law that says, look, you must do it this way. Do you understand? So it depends on the dynamics that play out. How good has the employer been? If he has been a very good employer, the tendency is that they will tend to be more patient with him, try to bear the brunt as much as possible. But if he has a history of inconsistency, of not being interested in the welfare of the workers, 1 month might just be enough for the workers to explode. Okay. You know, but you see, the reality is this, that this is happening essentially because the labor leadership has been compromised.
How?
You know,
How do you mean?
Along the line.
How do you mean?
Now, one of the most important things to any worker, in fact, the most important thing to any worker, that is the reason for which he's engaged in productive work.
All right.
Is his remunerations, his salary. The welfare of his family is dependent on that. His ability to keep body and soul together is dependent on that. So it's the most singular important thing to the worker. When you deprive that, naturally there would be consequences, especially if it is prolonged from like what we're seeing now. So you will find a central labor body that would seriously frown at what is going on, because they know that, and again, it tells you a lot about the mindset of the Nigerian worker today. It's not the mindset of a worker that even understands his rights and his duties and obligations, and the obligation of his central labor body. Because if the central labor body understood the fact that their own members will not tolerate all of this, after all, they are paying their dues. All right. You understand? For the running of the central labor body, then they will know that to owe them would spell a very big problem for them. You understand? Because ultimately, the workers themselves have to determine the fate of their leaders when they go for an election. So you don't want to leave a legacy, you know, that is negative. Do you understand? But the fact that, you know, over the years, essentially, especially if you look at all the states of the, you know, country, the governments of these states are interested in the leadership of their workers' union, of those states. So what they have done is that they have infiltrated and they have compromised the leadership of these unions. So some of them ride cars that, you know, under normal circumstances, their salaries will not have been able to, you know, get those cars for them, and so on. And they live in splendor. Why? Because they are in the good books of the governor. The governor needs them to keep their workers.
Don't the workers have a right to change the leadership of the labor union if they feel they are not doing the job that they ought to be doing, as attacking the government when their salaries are not being paid? Don't they have the right to do that?
They do. To answer your question directly, they do have a right to change their. They can pass a vote of no confidence on leadership. But what you find that is that even the workers themselves have been so infiltrated that there is a tactics you call divide and rule tactics that even this government and governors employ to ensure that the workers are not united. Because the moment they are united, it will be easy for them to fight, you know, any government or to fight injustice. But when you keep them, you know, divided, and so you would have some people who will perpetually, you know, help you divide the ranks and file, and so you would always, it will be easy for you to have your way at all time.
All right.
And so that's
Okay,
basically...
Achike, wait. Let's just take this short break for commercial, and we'll be right back with more discussion on the topic, the Nigerian worker, the ordeals. Stay tuned.
It is often said that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. But what about the things in life that actually inspire us to believe? Like the things that drive us, the things that move us, and even the things that remind us that the sky really isn't our limit. Because when we are inspired, we are led to future greatness. But first, we just have to believe.
One day I want to build Nigeria's first aeroplane.
I know. One day you'll make us proud.
Rich and creamy peak, extra fortified with 28 vitamins and minerals. Here's to 60 years of nourishing dreams and inspiring the future. The future is bright. Reach for your peak.
You can now watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Core TV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then News. Core TV News, our 24-hour news station.
Welcome back. You're still watching Core Digest on Core TV News, and today we are actually continuing our discussion, the Nigerian workers, the ordeals, as this is the second phase of our discussion. And I'm joined in the studio with a legal practitioner and a public affairs analyst in person of Achike Chudi and Liberus Oshoma. Liberus, you were saying something before the break.
Yes, I was telling you that basically what happens is the way the leadership is infiltrated by the governor, so also is the rank and file of the workers' union. And so you find out that even in some cases you can owe them 12 months salary, you still see them come to work happily. And then once in a while you see this, what you would call a semblance of a demonstration or protests.
Well, how do they really survive 12 months without pay? Surviving
is, we're talking about corruption here. You're talking about paying for almost everything when it comes to the civil service. And there is no way you can have a corrupt political class without a corrupt civil service. And so because the civil service before now was insulated from the political class, but now civil service swims and wines and dines with the political class. And so the moment the commissioner is appointed, is the PAMSEC and the directors that show him how they do it in civil service. We've heard of situations where the ministries, the directors and PAMSECs are sharing money in the ministries, and they say, okay, minister, this is yours, this is your share of the money. If you remember the case of even Adenike Grange, even when Yaradua at a point said, look, before the 31st of every December, you must retire your expenses. And so, because there are always loopholes where the civil service can, make money from, so they really don't care in some cases about salary. Go to any government office today, any government parastatal, even if it's a signature that is required, they tell you, Oga is not around. Or anyway, you know what to do if you want to fast track this process. And in some cases, some will even tell you that, look, we have not been paid, so this is how we survive. And there is basically no difference between what you call tips and bribe in Nigeria. So you are compelled to, except you want your file to remain for the next 1 year or so.
Let me give
you an instance. In Lagos State, for example, at the land registry, the government will tell you that there's 30 days perfection. But it's not a practical impossibility, except you have money to spend. Apart from the statutory fee, you still need to look for somebody that will help you monitor the progress of the file. And every table it gets to, there's what you call facilitation fee. admin charges and all of that. It happens in every ministry. We're talking about Lagos here now. We want to talk of even ministries that where salaries have not been paid.
Is it like this everywhere in every government ministry?
In Nigeria, if 90% of it, apart from a few, that's why some people will tell you that there are some persons that cannot work in government offices. Because if you think you are a saint, you don't want to play ball, or you don't want to partake in what is the norm in those offices, they'll look for a way to pull you out. And that is why you find out that once a governor comes in, appointment of directors now, it's no longer, based on growing from the cadre. Then the next thing, you can bring in your political associates as directors to fill some of these government agencies. And so once those people are there, the returns are now are made to certain persons. And so that is, when you talk about corruption in Nigeria, it is so humongous. Even in the private sector, there are some offices you get to, you have paid the statutory fees for a job. At the end of the day, you are still made to cough out extra. Let me give you another instance. As bad as it is, if you go to the Nigerian embassy, Nigerian High Commission in London, to apply for a passport, a Nigerian passport, you go to their website, there are requirements. But the moment you get to the commission, there are other payments that are not in the schedule on the website. And they tell you, well, we have to run the office. We have to manage this office. And so where do you expect us to get the money from? At the end of the day, government will tell you that there is a budget for this. One director has cornered that budget and is resting in account somewhere, yielding interest. And nobody's held accountable.
Whose fault is it that the system is this porous? Whose fault is it?
It's the fault of all of us. You cannot say it is the federal government or the state government. All of us are partakers in this.
Like even the workers themselves?
Yes. Because they compromise the system. Some of them are even happy that when salaries don't come, they even make more money. Because, it's an opportunity for people to be sympathetic, and it's an opportunity for people to fleece you. That, look, we have not been paid. And so once this thing happens, we're talking about federal government savings. You see a situation where the moment there is money in the SS crude account, the governors will swap on the federal government to say, look, we need more money. There are bargaining. If you remember also, before President Goodluck Jonathan was allowed to assume office as acting president, the promise that the governors drew from him then was that he would release funds to them. And so the moment he was made acting president, the first thing he did was to release money from the SS crude account, and they shared. And so now you see, during the elections, governors asking the president what happened to so and so billions of dollars that was in the SS crude account. And Okonjo-Iweala responded quietly that money we all shared. And so you cannot be asking me what happened to it. Governors that were saying they had no money to pay salaries, when the figures were released, we discovered that some of these governors made so much money. But we're in this problem now because we just, concluded an election. And we know how much governors pumped into election. And nobody, it pains me that even the federal government is saying, let bygone be bygone. When you know that people's livelihood had been pumped into campaigns, buying bags of rice, distributions of stomach infrastructure. Nobody's asking, where did all this money come from? And now we're complaining about the fact that there is no salary. How will there be salaries?
Do the governors have the right to take from the state coffers to run their own personal campaigns?
Look, let me tell you, they don't have the right. Even using government vehicles. It's a rule, even in the electoral laws. Even using government vehicles for campaign. Because apart from the fact that the governors earn salaries, these vehicles are not fuel from their pockets. They are fueled from the state government fund, that they are vehicles that are used officially. And so the cost of maintaining those vehicles is from the state government. A situation where a governor is going for a personal campaign, rather than draw funds from his campaign fund, the state government vehicles are deployed for that event. The governor's daughter is getting married. The entire secretariat is shut down. the state government apparatus are deployed for that event. These are clear illegality that even the workers do not complain.
Okay.
They are happy going. They are happy doing it. In some cases, you go to Oyo State. I remember when Malawi Akala was governor, you get to Oyo State for perfection, and they will tell you there's nothing happening. The commissioner is not around. The PAMSEC is not around. They've all gone to what's Alaw Akala's town again? Ogbomoso. That Alaw Akala's daughter is getting married. The civil servants are happy. The union, the labor union, nobody is complaining.
Okay.
And so these are illegalities that we don't complain about.
All right. Let's take example with Osun State. Of course, Osun State is clearly a civil servant state, and we saw how a lot of civil servants voted for Rauf Aregbesola for the second time, and now we have workers calling for his resignation. Didn't they see that before voting him in as governor for the second time?
No, they wouldn't have. If they actually supported him, the second time, which from what we have seen was what happened, it must have been on the basis of what they felt was his performance the very first time. That's when you return somebody, back to power because you feel that he has performed creditably well, but unfortunately, really, like the way I see it. It's an embarrassment for the Osun State government. It's an embarrassment in the sense that he's called, they still call him comrade, Rauf Aregbesola. And there are some things that you want to attribute to somebody that you call a comrade.
The state owes 7 months' salary.
Exactly, somebody who comes from the people, who takes his bearing from the people, and whose interest is centered on the people. That's why it's called a comrade. And but from what we have seen, for you to owe, his state owns one of the highest amount of money to workers in terms of 7 months and so on. So it's a very, very major embarrassment. Again, I think in his state they have talked about the fact that he was finding it difficult to continue with his campaign promise of feeding every child in school.
That has been discredited by his aide that they're not looking at.
Well, we'll see. But the reality is that when this rumor starts, there is a basis. But it is the pressure that is put on them that makes them want to recant. And they realize that they cannot. And that is why people must always be very careful. People must always watch their democracy and make demands on all of these people. The reality is that they are not supposed to be in this position. You see, why they are not supposed to be in this position is simply because at the end of every month, you have an idea of what your salary profile is. You find it's not just that you have an idea, you know what your salary profile is. So you work towards it, and you also have an idea of the revenue, base of the state. So based on these two things, you know what is important, and believe me, the salaries of your workers, is the most important. If you look at even in terms of capital projects, recurrent expenditure and so on, the recurrent expenditure would seem to have priority, because people have already delivered on their own obligation to you. So you must deliver on your own obligation, to them. And so that's why we're having this situation, for instance, in Osun State and some other
So why are the
states.
same workers who voted for him calling for his resignation in Osun State?
No, because,
they saw that he owed salaries before.
No. You see, the thing is this. There are so many things that happened, going into the election. This about 2-3 months after the election. So if he's owing about, so that would mean that he was owing about maybe 4-5 months before the election. And perhaps during the election, when the governor had to go everywhere, because he had to go everywhere, he had to meet the people. Perhaps the people were convinced by what he had told them. You don't worry, we have issues, but immediately we get in, we are going to sort out all of these things. So he must have convinced them. You understand that in spite of what he was owing them, they still went out to vote for him. So that means that he actually convinced them, managed to convince them, and so on. Now, so these are some of the issues that play out. But again, it would appear that in terms of priority, the worker salary is not as much a priority as, for instance, the issues of capital projects that they have embarked upon. And you see, this is where especially the corruption that he talked about. The tendency for people to award multi-million, multi-billion naira, contracts and make money from that is extremely very high. So it becomes a priority, because that's the only way you stay money. You stay money by cooking up projects or by coming up with projects, and in the context of that project, you're able to put in something that you can get out of, at the end of the day. So
and
you
the same
inflate
people
these
still
things.
get their salaries and
so
still get funds from
there's
other...
a priority for some of these capital projects.
Okay.
You need to pay them as against paying the workers, because in paying them, you can also make your own money from the deductions you're going to make because you have inflated it. These are also part of the things. Then he talked about the issue of electoral funds and so on. A lot of money that would have been used to pay salaries, went into this election. There are no two ways about that. The reality is that even Buhari himself, by the time he came to power for the first time, I think in 1983, some of the politicians that went to jail because they had used state monies to fund.
And shouldn't there be a repeat of that to deal with politicians who used state money to run?
Where there's a lot of contradiction today.
Okay.
A lot of contradiction. Do not also forget that politicians also were heavily behind Muhammad Buhari. And some of the monies, it has been said that a lot of these monies, perhaps 70% of this money came from states, where their parties had power. Same thing with the PDP. This is what has happened over time from 1999 to date. They do not use personal monies. They do not use monies contributed by individuals. Even those people who contribute money to political parties contributed this money from projects that they were deliberately given for the purpose of raising funds for the political parties, in most cases. So that is what is going on.
Should it not really be a burden that workers have to bear because state governors have given out some money to fund
this is also what we're saying. If you look at the relationship, unfortunately, the politicians are also smart. What they have done is that institutions that could give them problems, like religious institutions, for instance, have also been undermined and compromised, by the politicians. So you now see, pastors, general overseers, and so on, taking certain positions that are diametrically opposed to the issues of
they tell
interest
you
of the people,
and they tell you for the benefit of the state,
exactly.
You should
need to pray. You need
pray
to
hard for the
leaders,
governor.
You need to do this and so on and so forth, rather than see
demand accountability.
The instruments of their their creed as a basis to agitate the people to fight for justice. Because the reality is that people, for instance, should look at scriptures, whether it is the Quran, whether it is the Bible. Within the Bible, people can see those things that can be used to justify the
laborer is entitled to his wages.
Okay, let's just
from that, a basis
introduce
for
our
the people.
viewers to call in on the numbers showing on their screen, as they can also participate on the discussion today as we look at Nigerian workers, the ordeal. So you could call the number showing on your screen to give your comments or contribution or what you think about what we're discussing today. Now, let's look at now the workers part of it now. With the temper rising, of course, we have, part of those workers are health workers, people who have shut down their hospital as a result of the strike. What are the implications of this? But before you take that, okay, we just lost the caller now. So let's talk about the implication of strike on Nigeria's economy, especially in this very new dispensation.
Basically, you cannot begin to look at the implication of the strike without looking at the implication of a man. They say a hungry man is an angry man. Without looking at the implication of the man who is hungry, a man who is going to work in an empty stomach, a man who has been working for months and is not being paid, in spite of the fact that his take-home pay cannot take him home. And in spite of the fact that you have political office holders who are living ostentatious lifestyle, in spite of the fact that these political office holders, their salaries and allowances are humongous, and yet you say things are hard, times are difficult, and the political office holders, times are not difficult for them. That's supposed to be a life of selfless service, but the people that are supposed to grant selfless service are those that are benefiting and fleecing the state. And then you now say, okay, don't go on strike because the political implication for the state. The political implication would definitely be grave because the situation where...
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Yes, please tell us your name and where you're calling from, please. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
I'm calling from Lagos.
From Lagos, okay. Your name, please?
Yeah, I'm calling from Lagos.
Okay. So your name and go ahead with your contribution, please. Hello? Okay, we lost that call. Okay, now.
And so, a situation where the government hospitals are closed as a result of the fact that government cannot meet up with its obligation to the workers, what you're going to have is that people will not be able to access these institutions and facilities. And so when people are not able to access those facilities, the ones that can access, that can afford the private ones will go there. The ones that cannot afford the public ones, they are left to their fate. Some will die, and some, the injuries will be complicated. And so also, once it is complicated, they transfer it to either the people or if, for example, let me break it down this way. If, for example, you are a bricklayer and you are injured in the course of your job and you cannot access private hospital, you decide to go to the public one, and the public ones are short, you still want to manage to work. What do you now do? You transfer it to your consumer, that man that will employ you. You now need to charge him a premium to be able to access the private hospitals, because you wouldn't want to die. And so the multiplying effect on the inflation in the economy will be ×2 or ×3 in some cases. And then also, it will get to a point when people will now begin to ask, what is the essence of governance? If that's why people are beginning to demand for the resignations of governor. What is the essence of governance if the social contract pact that you signed with us, you can't even fulfill? And so, once it gets to that level, what you are telling the people now is, look, you should take your destiny in your hands. Because the essence of some of these public institutions, it's not necessarily to make profit like private organization, but it's to provide the basic amenities and the basic necessities of life. And once these basic necessities of life are not there, the adverse effect on the economy, it's gradually, what you get is like a systemic collapse. And you know what happens when a system collapses.
Now, the refraining statement by governors saying that there is no money in the state coffers and the federal government has not released any film to them, is it justified? It's
not. If you look at it in one breath, it's a lazy man's answer to the problem. Because a governor would come and make promises on the basis of, oh yes, I'm expecting so and so from the federal government. And then you as a governor, the first question I ask most times when I hear some of them make these promises is, how do you intend to diversify the source of revenue?
Let's pick this call. We'll come back to you. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Okay, it seems the network is really...
So the first question I ask, how do you intend to diversify source of revenue? And do you know how much comes to the state monthly? And what is the wage bill? What is budgeted for capital expenditures? So that you now begin to tell us, when you're telling us I'm going to do heaven and earth, and we know that you are aware of what you're talking about. And then also in some cases, you find out that some of these people, all they do is depend on allocation from the federal government. We operate a commodity economy where you draw a budget on the basis of what you sell. And you cannot grow an economy on the basis of a commodity budget. What if that product is not bought? So that means you are in comatose. Then that's where you hear some of these people say, we will diversify, we will diversify. Some of these states that we're talking about now were states that in the First Republic could well boast of agriculture.
Okay, let's pick this call. We'll continue. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, please tell us your name and where you're calling from, please. Hello, good morning. Okay, what's really happening? Okay.
And so let me quickly round up so I yield the floor for Achike. So you find out that now almost everybody, every young graduate in this state wants to go to the capital city or wants to come to Lagos to get a white-collar job, because even the government itself has de-emphasized the need for labor. The government has so de-emphasized this need for labor that it now looks fashionable to want to go into politics, because that's the easiest way of making money. Or come to Lagos and then you can do virtually anything and make money in Lagos. And so
let's just try
also
this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, please tell us your name and where you're calling from, please.
I call from Nigeria State. My name is Shafi.
All right, go ahead with your contribution. We lost it again.
And so in 2 seconds, I will basically say, at the end of the day, what now happens is, and then also the correction system, if a situation where a man steals so much, and rather than, prosecute him for stealing, we reward him, we clap for him,
that
we
brings
encourage him.
That brings me to
and so at the end of the
question.
day, so that's
because it looks like a lot of Nigerians are calling on the Buhari meter. And of course, when the president declared his assets, and Nigerians are saying he didn't declare publicly, shouldn't we call for a governor meter? Shouldn't we call for governors and local government chairman or others in leadership to actually declare their assets? Do you think we are playing down on that?
You see, the Buhari's assets, first of all, I think they are following the procedure. You go to the Code of Conduct Bureau and then you declare your assets. Then the next thing they will do, they have to verify all of those assets that you have declared. So on the basis of that, I think the intention, and I think somebody told me that...
Actually, let's just try pick this call.
Okay.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from, please.
I'm Taiwo from Osun.
Okay, Taiwo from Osun. Okay, go ahead with your contribution.
A civil servant. To say, a civil servant. The gentleman on your right, he has said it all. When they came in into government, they stand to promise heaven and earth. Imagine the governor telling us that he paid 49 billion. In time of 4 years, they could not account for that 49 billion at the state. Imagine that. And they telling the civil servant, go, if you are living there, 3 bedroom flat, you go and rent one place apartment. Go there. And all these things, you go there, all what they say they do, or they do, yeah, we see it all. They did not failing control of the project they are doing. Imagine, they have been telling us that the government that didn't release the allocation. When they are receiving 7 billion, they did not tell anybody. They are receiving 6 billion, they did not tell anybody.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay.
We cannot see anything that they do on them.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I think it was...
So you are talking about the Code of Conduct Bureau. So, I mean, after they have done that, then he now makes it, because he promised Nigerians that he was going to...
Actually, I don't go there. I disagree vehemently with that position.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you express, you're a lawyer, so you know all of this. But the reality is that he's coming out publicly to declare what he has. And I think that is incumbent on everybody. But I think the provision of the law is also part of the problem, because the law compels them to declare their assets secretly. That is before the Code of Conduct Bureau.
No.
You understand?
No.
Okay, so maybe...
the law, the position of the Code of Conduct is that it's a constitutional provision before you assume office and when you leave office. That is why you see they say they charge a governor before the Code of Conduct Tribunal. You must declare your assets. The law did not say you declare it secretly or publicly. And once such assets are declared, it's a confidential document with the Code of Conduct. Nobody, not even the PIB, can compel the Code of Conduct.
That's what I'm saying.
Can compel the Code of Conduct to release such documents, except there is a law by the National Assembly detailing how that document should be released.
It's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, I didn't understand it from that
exactly what I was saying.
And so, but when a man says, I will do mine publicly, I will declare mine publicly, not after verification, because I know what I own. They are my property. If I say I have 2 phones, I don't need to wait for the Code of Conduct to verify whether there are 2 phones for me to know that I own 2 phones. So if I say this is what I own and I give out the document to the media, address the media in declaring my assets publicly, these are my assets. Even if the code of conduct, like, let them verify it 100 times, this is what you get.
He has not violated anything.
I'm not saying somebody, but wait, it's a moral burden. It's not about law. It's a moral burden.
But the issue is Nigerians are saying it's not public yet.
This is what I am saying. I'm saying exactly the same thing that Laborers is talking about. You make this declaration before the Code of Conduct Bureau. They have a duty to also go and verify what you have declared. Otherwise, it's rubbish. You can say, look, you own 10 buildings, and you say, I own 2 buildings. Then they go and sit back and say, okay, yeah, he said he owns 2 buildings, so that's enough. No, they must go and verify.
There is no way there's no way they will know if you own 10 buildings, if you verify, if you declare.
Hello, good morning.
Then that is...
Hello, good morning. Please, your name and where you're calling from, please.
I'm calling from Lagos.
Lagos, okay. Go ahead with your contribution.
I'm calling from Lagos.
All right.
My name is Jason. So,
okay. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. What I just want to say is just a very short something. Yeah. So what I just want to say is just a very simple something. It's about our president.
Okay.
He's in the office for a while now. We don't even know what is happening. You know, please let us know what's happening, because these people convince us that this change everything. That's what they used to convince us. Change. That's why I fought this into it. So what I want to say that the president should just let us know what is going on. Please. That is it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you.
So quickly, Achike, if I own 10 properties, but because I know that the code of conduct, since they said do it publicly, I declare 2. There is no what the code of conduct will basically do in verifying. It is not their duty to go fishing. They will go verify if those 2 properties actually belong to me. It is now left for the citizens to come up with information to the code of conduct to say no.
How can the citizens investigate?
Wait. If I know that this property belongs to you, and I can access the certified true copy of the CFO that it actually belongs to you, I can send them to the code of conduct to say no. This man lied on oath by declaring that he owns 2. I know 3 somewhere, and these are the documents. That's where the code of conduct now begins to charge you for breach of code of conduct.
You see, the thing is that it is the duty, is the responsibility and the obligation of the citizens to also watch over their government. And so when, like he said, somebody has made a statement, we should also, be people who are interested in the politics of this country and in the conduct, by our political leaders while in office. And so, even if we have to go out of our way to prove, after all, the issue of the EFCC, for instance, investigating governors and so on, people have to generate a petition. It can be an ordinary person who has an idea about maybe the lifestyle of a particular person and so on. He can do a petition. It's part of, somebody has said that vigilance,
okay,
eternal
let's
vigilance
this
is
call first.
Okay, good.
Hello, good morning. All right, continue.
Somebody has said that eternal vigilance is the price that people have to pay for their democracy. Okay. And so it is important, it's critical, that yes, there's a constitutional provision. I also agree, just like Yaradua was able to do before the Nigerian people, Buhari really has no choice than to make public his declaration. And I do not think that that's a problem with him. He is going to do that. But is this something that will reverberate around the country? Is this something that other political office holders will also take? The issue, unfortunately, is that the way the Code of Conduct Bureau has been set up is such that, pressure is not put on the politicians. Pressure is not put on the politicians to do the right thing, make it public. Because if that was the case, perhaps there will be much more circumspect when it comes to the issue of looting of public properties, because everything that they declare publicly, the public knows exactly what they have declared, and they can now say, look, this man has much more than he has declared. Then the Code of Conduct Bureau can take it from there. So it is a synergy between government institutions and the people. Without this synergy, you are not going to get anything done.
Okay, Liberos, as a legal practitioner, can state governors be compelled to actually make public their assets and make public all the allocations they get, so that at least citizens can have a feel of what they get and what they should expect from government?
That is why people are saying the president made this promise, and in making that promise, he said, I will do mine publicly, and I will encourage every public officer and those that will work with me to also do the same. And so when there's a new spirit, when there's a new direction, it is now easy for people to begin to say, look, the president has shown the way. Governors, please, we want you to follow suit. We demand from now, even though it is not part of the law, that we demand that since if a president and a vice president can do theirs publicly, we also demand that you let us know your assets, what you have. Otherwise, for those that are gunning for second term, don't even bother coming to us.
It's not going to work. Liberals, I agree with that. But why it will not work is that the same scenario played out with Yaradua. Yaradua made a declaration that was not followed, by other political office.
Achike, I am not saying it's a constitutional provision. What we are discussing here, you asked me if it can happen. And I said the people can make demands to say, look, we are strengthening our electoral processes. If we take that step, if we take it a notch further from where we left it in March, you would discover that once our votes begin to count, there are demands that we will make that people will take seriously. But because we are not united, we always create excuses for public office holders. And then you will hear some people say, well, the law says they shouldn't do it publicly, and so anyway, they have done it. If you need the document, go to PIB or go and access it any which way. And so because these things are in secret, government affairs is held nocturnally.
But in the era of change, should this practice continue?
That's what we're saying. In the era of change, there should be a departure. Because nobody in the National Assembly will want to amend the Constitution to give room for public declaration of assets. But the only way we can now begin to make those demands is for us to say, look, our electoral processes are being strengthened now, and we need serious-minded people. We need to know what you own as you're coming into office, so that when you are leaving, also we will ask, now that you've been in office, how much have you acquired? Or has your assets, declined or increased? So we know people that are coming to build assets on the basis of our public funds. But when we don't do that, because our and whether we vote or not, they will become governors. When the electoral laws are not strengthened,
okay, let's pick
people can decide that, well, I don't care. I don't give a damn.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, please, your name and where you're calling from, please.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, go ahead with your contribution. Your name, where you're calling from.
This is Honorable David Okuku. I'm calling from Ghana.
Okay, from Ghana. Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead with your contribution.
The politicians will come out to declare their assets. But we know that the cables that be, they will frustrate the system. Okay, because if anyone comes out to declare his assets, and he did come out openly to declare all his assets, the people of the country, they will come out to tell the government that this man owns social building, he owns social property, and he has not declared it. And that will work against them. So they will do everything to frustrate the system.
Okay. So,
yeah. So we should push for that, because that will make us to come to realize that this politician is doing the right thing. Because if you declare that you have 3 houses, and by the time you are leaving the office, we come to know that you have 10 houses, then you will tell us where you get those money from.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let me just take it from.
Okay.
I agree with some of the things liberals said.
Okay.
Now you see the issue is somebody has said that the laws of any particular country are a reflection of the dominant class in that country.
Yeah.
You understand? And so you can see, for instance, how corruption, is being aided by even our laws in this country. The law on
code of conduct. Yeah.
You agree to that, liberals?
Yes.
Because the reason is this: the essence of that law is to keep our public office holders in check. It is to be able to monitor what they do. And so if they come to you secretly, and that's what I'm using the word secretly, to them.
Yes.
You understand? Yes. And if they come to them and say, look, we have this, we have this, we have this, and you do not make this thing open to the public, because it is the public, you operate in the public, you build houses in the public, you steal money, through a process that also involves not just you, but other people, you understand, who might not necessarily be accessories.
to what you have done and so on. So once you are able to hide all of this from the vast majority of the people, the possibility of disclosure and exposure is very limited. This exactly is what we are saying. But beyond that, again, is this, that you just asked a question. You said, is it not change that we are talking about? It's not the era of change. I don't know whether it is the era of change. There is nothing that has suggested right now that we're in an era of change. Change was just a mantra. It was just a word that was used that had resonance with Nigerians. A lot of Nigerians having suffered so much, having gone through so much in the past 4 years, starting even from 1999 to date, things are just not working. So poverty and so on and so forth. So any word that seems to indicate a deviation from what has been an unpleasant experience was something that was embraced by the people.
But let me add.
Let me add to it. You add to it. It's important. It's important so that I do not lose.
Because Nigerians even said that they wanted a change for good or for bad. That's just what I wanted to add.
I don't think so.
No, a lot of Nigerians said that.
The Nigerians I spoke with wanted a change that was positive. They wanted to be in a position to pay school fees. They wanted to be in a position to be able to, have, if they cannot build their own houses, but to at least have enough money to be able to rent decent houses. Nigerians that I spoke to, that I was involved with, wanted a change that was better, that would make their lives better, that would ensure that there was security, that would ensure that there was, power, efficient power supply and so on. These are the changes that Nigerians that I know voted for. Not a change from a status quo that was bad to a change to a status quo that was even worse. Yes, we know that they were upset with the present order. You understand? But I think the change they wanted was a positive change. But like the reason I said so is that we need to, there's nothing yet in this government to tell us that we are in the era of change. It is what they do. It is how they live their lives. If it is how they are able to galvanize Nigerians, you understand, towards more positive endeavors. These are the things that will actually begin to tell Nigerians that, yes, it is change. They are still hoping for that change. It is not as if they've given up. This is just about 2-3 weeks after Buhari's inauguration. You understand? Yes, they are upset about a few things. They are upset that they have not, up till now, the list of ministers have not been made public, which means that the president cannot even begin to do some of the things that he has promised to Nigerians and so on. So these are some of the things that we have to, look at.
All right, Liberas, what's your take?
Basically, Nigerians, it was so bad that Nigerians wanted a change. But some people just said, look, we needed a change, whether for good or for bad. But we need to change from the status quo. To tell you that Nigerians were not, they hoped and wished and prayed. But with the reality that was facing them, a situation where the people, it was easy for you to say, yes, we wanted a change. But the pool of the people that kept you where you are, all they needed to do was to change their names from PDP to APC, and then you embrace them as progressives. And then you truly believed that those people would drive you to where that change that you so desire.
Hello,
then
good
you
morning.
must be deceiving yourself.
Hello, good morning. Hello? All right, go ahead.
And so for me, I expected a change of government, but not that change that Nigerians are demanding.
So what we have now is not a change? Are you saying what we have now is not a change? Because all of these governors were
you might have a few departure from the norms, but not the change that Achike is talking about. Because the same old order, we have seen it happen. We saw it play out last week. The same old order that kept us where we are the same people that are gradually rearing their heads one way or the other. And so if we're asking for a change for that, in the next 4 years, you're going to be able to assess mortgages, you are going to be able to send your children to good schools, you are going to be able to get good roads and all of that, you might just, take the back seat, because I don't see it happening now. But we might have a foundation for all of those things. Maybe after now, if this government is truly serious, they should be able to put a foundation in place and say, look, we want to create an atmosphere where the next government that will come will be able to drive that change that people actually voted us for, so that people will not be too expectant. Because at the end of the day, if you are too expectant and it doesn't come,
and then you will be far disappointed than the man who was not expecting.
All right. Now, you know, in all of these states now, the salaries are quite enormous. And, you know, we remember the manifesto made by the government at the federal level saying that even those that have not gotten job will be paid salaries. Do you see all of those promises coming to pass?
Even when those promises were made, the financial analyst sat down and said, no, come on, be realistic. From where are you going to get the money? The government is even crying that the nation is going bankrupt. You're a commodity economy. You are solely dependent on whether America, Indian and some other countries buys oil from you. And then you're talking about paying people. You need to have a clear-cut foundation. If the foundation is not there, and that is why now some people will tell you these are campaign promises, as if campaign promises are not a moral obligation that must be fulfilled.
You see, we do not have an industrial base in this country. You don't build a country and economy without a solid industrial base. You do not have a strong agricultural base. And these are the two sectors that can actually help to drive Nigeria, get Nigeria out of the woods. It's not just having even a sound agricultural base. You must be able to have processing, to be able to process agricultural products in this country. You don't have to outsource it to other countries of the world, because that exactly is what is going on. You know, so we do not have the kind of economic base that is needed to drive this country. Do you understand? To an appreciable level. And as long as you don't have that, and again, this issue of IMF, Bretton Woods, you know, World Bank imposed economic, measures on Nigeria is not going to work. It's only going to create more poverty, poverty for the people. This arrangement with the World Trade Organization, that everything they tell us, we must be able to comply. The Asian tigers did not grow as a result of adherence to strict economic policies of the IMF.
Okay, Achike, you will continue after this break for commercial, because right now we really have to take this break. Do well to stay tuned.
It is often said that the future belongs to those who are inspired to dream. Dreams of a future where we're more than able to move the entire world.
Mom, one day I'm gonna be a superstar performer.
Yes, one day.
Rich and creamy peak, extra fortified with 28 vitamins and minerals. Here's to 60 years of nourishing dreams and inspiring the future. The future is bright. Reach for your peak.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digi360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
Yes, we could really continue on this topic because it's something that bites hard on every Nigerian, but time is really not on our side. So, gentlemen, final words from you on this issue, Nigerian workers and the ordeals.
Basically, now reality is staring us in the face, and it will do well for government. I hear the governors saying that the president will come to their aid. I will appeal in coming to the aid of these governors. The president should they should have a clear-cut agenda on how they are going to pay back, so that you don't begin to create another problem that will rear its ugly face in the near future. How are you going to pay back these loans that we'll give you? And then also, how do we begin to diversify our economy so that we can also begin to create employment in other sectors? How do we fix our power problem, and so that even the small people can begin to generate income on their own from small and medium scale businesses, so you can also attract investors? But when you mount fixing the power problem, fixing the economy, and paying social securities, at the end of the day, with all of these problems, you're just going to be creating loans upon loans for yourself.
Okay, Achike, for you.
Internal debt, in the country is much higher than the about $9 billion that Nigeria is owing to international financial agencies. They have been, over the years, they have tried to pay some of these debts, But when it comes to the issues of internal debt, the Nigerian government has failed woefully to address some of these issues. So already, so many of these states are already indebted in the country, and so going to the federal government that is also in very serious economic financial crisis, seems to not be the solution. At best, it could just be a temporary solution. But do not forget again that if we look at the way our budget has been performing, that about just 30% of the budget is being used for capital expenditure, while 70% goes for recurrent expenditure. So where is the federal government going to get that? At the same time, we are also losing so much money from the area of crude. About 400,000 barrels of crude oil is being lost every day. These are areas that government can actually go into, try to plug some of these loopholes to see whether they can raise more money, for the country. But then again, beyond that is the internal economic dynamics that are playing out in this country. If you do not have it, a more robust economic policy that is rooted in the people, an economic policy that ensures that the vast natural resources that are available to this country, in virtually every state of this generation, is being explored and exploited for the benefit of the people, so that you can grow the local economies in those places. If you're not able to do that, you're going to continue to have problems with internally generated revenues in most of the states. Only a state like Lagos and maybe one or two other states, for instance, can even live to a very large extent.
So you're calling for the state governors to learn from other states like Lagos?
We need to change our federal laws, for instance, that makes it possible that, seems to, domicile, natural resources found in all parts of the country within the purview of the federal government. States must be able to have control of their resources. You understand? And must be encouraged to exploit all of these things so that you can increase the internal economic dynamics of those states, to stimulate the economies of those states. And so that puts states, we give them much more revenue for a lot of other things. And then corruption is also part of the reason why most of these states are where they are today. We have talked about
in the area of change, we are looking forward to fight against corruption and zero tolerance.
The major thing about this change is this. I think the change should be rooted more in the people than in the government.
All right.
You understand clearly?
Rooted more in the people than the government.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I really wish we could continue, but time is reading us on our side. But it was nice having you on the show. Achike Chudi, thanks for coming. And Liberus Oshoma, it was nice having you.
My pleasure.
Do have a great rest of the day. All right, viewers, do well to join me after this break, and we'll round off the program without the guest. Stay tuned, please.
As news breaks, people don't let events pass without giving their comment or reactions.
When the problem arises in society, these are the people that should be consulted.
To cleanse the corruption in society, we are not to provide information for good life and also security of life and property in this country.
The academic society have the loudest voice on this platform.
Whether you call it a sovereign national conference or a national conference, it's about the people of Nigeria.
There should be a change in power.
In any way they can do it.
I think there's a script already.
Every Tuesday at 8:45 p.m. on this station. From the Ivory Tower, a must-watch for the learning minds.
Thank you so very much for staying the course of the program today. We really want to apologize that we couldn't take so many of your calls. Of course, we had limited time, and we want to appreciate you for participating on today's topic. But the good news is that this topic is actually a series, because we'll continue the discussion some other time. So you still have an opportunity to tell us what you think or what the government should do. And of course, you could make use of our social media platform on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube to tell us what you think and how the government should actually intervene in this issue. It's actually not very funny that some workers are being owed as much as 11 months' salaries, and it cuts across a good number of states, not less than 12 actually. It's very saddening, But, this is why we call it a day on Cold Digest. I really want to appreciate you once again. So do well to join us tomorrow for something fresh and interesting. My name is Omotayo Alo. Have a beautiful week ahead. Thank you.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
You can now watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Core TV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then News. Core TV News, a 24-hour news station.
That's a sign of protest, saying that things are not good.
Women share the most amazing thoughts.
When it's close to the time, our people will protest
on national issues.
That was their own point. That was an accident. That is different.
And they do it
Politics is about being a servant.
passionately.
Without a woman, there will be no success at all.
Sharing the adorable word of women.
There are some women who have what it takes.
In politics.
Margaret Thatcher, Iron Lady. When she's too soft, she's too soft.
Only on Core TV News.